I moved a few years ago, actually in 1989, to Toronto, Canada, where the first climate change negotiations occurred the year before, in 1988. And all the international regime that we have now, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, etc., came out of that meeting. That's when the world realized we need to actually do things differently. And I've devoted my life to try to address climate change. As a professor, try to train young people, old people. My mom's one of my big converts. She's a solar lady. And I asked the folks on the control room to actually put a photo of planet Earth behind us. Because we kind of lose track of what we need to be doing as human beings. There is actually only one planet that we know of that is inhabitable in the neighborhood. There may be other planets somewhere, but I can guarantee you that none of the 7.5 billion people that we are today will be invited for the journey. A few people may manufacture some sort of ark and send the very brightest people to breed somewhere in the far edges of the universe. But this amazing planet, there you have it. It's sort of what I wanted, but it's good enough. So to sum up what we're doing here is, I can sum it up in one word: wow. California rocks. Not very professorial term, but you need to be aware the planet is watching you. What you're doing is amazing. I've visited 48 countries so far. Don't give me trouble about the ecological footprint. I actually helped phase out coal power in Ontario, so it's 28 million tons CO2 per year credit that I have with a few other people. So I go around the planet looking at the places that are making a difference. And I'm very pleased to be here in California. I think you folks are amazing. Summing up what you have said collectively today would be impossible. Fred, I'm sorry, that cannot be done. Books need to be written about this, and movies need to be made about this. So homework for all of you California types is you need to go to wherever the heck Netflix is based and pitch them a series, not just a movie, but a series of what California is doing. And then also manage to talk to Google. So Google can actually put in their navigator a toggle on how to save the planet. So a lot of the stuff you're doing here in terms of programs and research initiatives and community engagement can be easily accessible to the people of the planet in the language that they use wherever they call home. First thing I would recommend you do is to read this paper. How many of you, just show of hands, have read this paper? Mayor Birch, that's why you get reelected so many times, because you do your homework. So I encourage folks to, how many people here from California, if you could go like this? So you gotta read this. You know, I'm reading it for fun. Fred Schwartz, Mr. Lovridge, and Mr. Martinez Morales took the time to write this as a roadmap of how you can actually become even more amazing than you are. Because the task at hand is to decarbonize. We need to reach decarbonization as soon as possible as a human race. And you guys have everything taken care of, looks like. I met Trey earlier, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed that he survived the change of governor, because it looks like here the conversation is no more left, right, green, red, blue. It's about how to get your act together to mobilize the local to save the global to benefit the local. And that equation that has been said in many ways by different people today, it's exciting because in too many places in the planet, they keep making the case that this is a trade-off. You either protect the only planet that we have, or you actually feed your kids. And that dichotomy, it's not only false, but it's actually highly misleading. And I believe it was Garrett Wong that actually spoke about that, and he say asking people what you need, and turning upside down some things. You can see I got like, I don't know, 30 pages of notes. I don't even know where to start, to tell you what I heard today, other than saying this. I am so enthusiastic about what I've heard here. Is that Friday I'm going to be begging the people from the university here, see if I can stay. Because there's a lot of homework to document all of this that I've heard just in one day. And tomorrow, if I'm still standing, I'll be doing the same thing. And if they say no, I'll go to Stanford on Monday to ask my good friend Mark Jacobson there, see if I can have a desk over there. And ideally, we can have desks in different universities, because you need to open up this to the nations of the planet. There's 200 nations that agreed in Poland at the end of the last year, in December of 2018, to solve climate change. They say, yep, we'll do it. There are about 3 countries, shall remain nameless, which ones, that say no. And you can redeem yourselves by saying, they may not be going on a lot at a certain macro level, but at the micro level here in the 8th economy of the world, I believe California is. 5th? 5th, man, you're wealthy. You're bigger than Canada, I think. 2nd biggest country geographically. But my point to you is very simple. So you need to open this up for people from all over the planet to come to California and take care of business here. There's another nation that is doing something similar to what you're doing. It's called Germany. And Germany is doing something they call, the Germans call it Energiewende. The Energiewende, it's a revolutionary strategy. And I tell you that because I got to tell you something different from what you've heard, right? And that country, which is not precisely sunny California, has about 45 gigawatts of photovoltaics and about 43 gigawatts of wind power. And they wake up in a sunny day and they run their country on solar. And if there's no wind, if there's no sun, there is wind. And they manage somehow to run the country. They're not yet at 100% year-round renewable energy, but they're well on their way. And what is the commonality I see between Germany and California? It's, of course, the Energiewende mentality, but most importantly, the investment that the state is making on R&D and D in the one hand, and in education and knowledge mobilization. So it was a pleasure to hear Mrs. Ten Hope basically give an overview to a foreigner, this guy here, of how you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in making sure that the effort gets penetrated deep to the core of what California is all about. I was very impressed by the fact that you're putting money into the food industry. So the food industry can actually change as well, because it has a gigantic ecological footprint. I'm not here to lecture anybody about anything. I came here to listen. And I can tell you, I could actually feed you masters, PhDs, and postdocs until I'm blue in the face. And that's what you should do. You should do the German thing, which is open up your jurisdiction, so the nations of the world come to soak it all in. And you're probably going to say, Jose, we already do that. But you need to rethink how you do it so you can reach people from all over the world, and they can come here and learn in short order what they need to know from you, so they can go back home and fix back home. So I'll give you an example. I was in New Delhi before coming to see you here. And in New Delhi for 2 days, I studied the carbon pricing mechanisms. It was the first time the World Bank has done a conference on carbon pricing. Won't go there into the details other than telling you this, that the people that run Mahindra Motors, which is the equivalent of General Motors in the United States, in India, say to the entire audience, and they actually let you videotape this because they're open about this now, which was with an internal price of $10 a ton of CO2. Mahindra Motors wanted to reduce its overall greenhouse gas emissions by 25%. And they were willing to negotiate that internal, but that was sort of like their guiding compass, so to speak, $10, 25% reduction. And they did it. They did it in less than a year. They achieved at $10 per ton of CO2, a 25% reduction in a big, big manufacturing conglomerate. So here you have the CEO of a large company from India saying climate change mitigation is possible. It is possible to do this. And then I heard Mr. Wong say precisely the same thing. So it's really refreshing to hear some of the facts that I've heard today here, that Google is 100% renewable energy, Apple is well on its way to do this as well, and all the incredible examples that I've heard all day. So allow me to conclude by saying this. What you do matters. And I hope when people start complaining about feeling overtaxed or overburdened with money, you remind them that when the people that write history books, and that's what academics, we do that, we will actually celebrate California, Germany, Denmark, as countries that are getting their act together and showing to the rest of the human race that it's not only possible to preserve the planet, it's not only the ethical thing to do, but that you actually are having fun while you're doing it. Because that's what I'm getting out of this. A lot of people here are having a great time. And you heard the mayor of Woodstock talking about the things he does to his children, controlling them with the Wi-Fi so they can become energy sleuths. That learning by doing, that experiential learning that you have going on in this, at a macro scale, in this gigantic state that may continue to be as awesome as it is, don't let them take it away from you. Don't become ordinary. Continue to be extraordinary. Don't become silent, become vocal. Don't become mediocre, become courageous as you are. And the rest of the planet is watching. Foreigners like me are paying attention. You risk that some of us are going to move here, but that's life, I suppose. We do bring, some of us, contacts. And allow me to conclude by telling you this. Please come to Chile. At the end of this year, we're going to hold the climate negotiations. And I was talking to a university professor from Chile, from the equivalent of MIT in that neck of the woods. And he said, hey, where you are, can you please make sure you talk to such and such? And I was able to take a picture of the business card of such and say, I already spoke with him. And he goes, good, good. Make sure you invite them to Chile so they can come to Santiago at the end of the year, not to talk about climate negotiations, but to actually make it clear to the 200 nations that come to talk about this, how to get your act together. And I urge you to create an ecosystem that will mobilize what you're doing worldwide. You have the tools, just approach Google, Netflix, Apple maybe can toss a little money onto it, but you have an ecosystem that is second to none. So keep celebrating it, keep making it work, and I don't know if this is a summation, but go California, go. You rock. Thank you very much.